Greetings to all, and welcome to the SABRIC Safer Internet Day public webinar, the first of many public awareness events of this nature that are yet to follow for this financial year. The aim of this event is to raise awareness and start a conversation about online safety and share knowledge on how to stay safe when using the internet. To civil society, because we have invited civil society via social media platforms to join in as it is a public event. The civil society who might not have interacted with SABRIC. SABRIC stands for South African Banking Risk Information Center. And if you are interacting with us for the first time,
is there a new code for ACAMS?
I would advise all attendees just to ensure that your mics are muted, just for minimal interruptions during the session. Thank you. As I was giving a brief background, the SABRIC stands for South African Banking Risk Information Center, and we are mandated to addressing financial crimes within the country. And this requires private sector, government involvement, and also civil society as well. We are committed to collaborating with our members and partners to enhance law enforcement capabilities, strengthen the regulatory framework, and promote transparency and accountability to ensure the general safety and security of the banking environment. So before we start, as I've already alluded to some attendees, that let's ensure that our cameras are off and our mics are muted, just for minimal interruptions. And we will be afforded an opportunity to pose your question during the Q&A session. Or alternatively, you're welcome also to jot down your questions on our chat box. We will pass it on to our esteemed speaker just for their response. However, on the chat box, I will also be sharing the survey for this webinar, and please ensure that you complete the link on the survey on the link that will be shared, or the QR code that will be shared on the chat box. So as we dive in line with our program that I've already displayed, allow me to introduce our first speaker, Craig Peterson, who will be addressing the topic, Think Before You Click, as displayed on the program second topic. Craig is a leading specialist in the digital forensic and cybercrime and forensic investigations at the TCG Forensics. He focuses on digital forensics and cybercrime investigation. He has over 2 decades experience in the technology and investigative space. Craig is a registered certified fraud examiner, forensic practitioner, a fellow of the Internet Service Providers Associations of South Africa, a published author of note, and he has authored several publications. He has authorized for us to share one of his books that he has authored that will be shared on our chat box. You are welcome to download it and also share further. This comprehensive book serves as a crucial source for individuals seeking to navigate the virtual landscape. responsibly so, and avoiding falling victim to raising levels of cybercrime and AI deepfakes. It equips the reader with the practical strategies to fortify their digital defense. So on that note, Craig, you may turn on your camera and share your slides. Over to you.
100%. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today and for having me join you in this session. I'm Craig. I'm by no means as impressive or as learned as Cheeky makes me out to be in that very nice introduction. But I'm going to do my best to help you guys understand a little bit around personal and business cybersecurity in the online space. And this morning, some of the things that we're going to talk about are understanding your digital privacy. What is it? How your data is used, password protection policies. How does social engineering affect you, and does it? And then we're going to look at a couple of specific risks that might be relevant to you. So by way of introduction, when we're looking at cybersecurity, what are we talking about? Well, cybersecurity is about understanding the importance of safety in the online space. In South Africa, we've kind of made our way into the cyberspace. To many of the younger generation, the internet was there when they arrived. Google has always been there. To those who are a little bit older, you'll remember the frustration of dial-up modems, and when the internet was nothing more than a bunch of FTP directories that you could search through. And we've evolved with that over time, and we have been able to grow with that technology, but not every generation has that benefit. So we understand that in our day-to-day lives, we take certain precautions and we take certain safety measures. We have alarms at home. We have pepper spray in our cars. We are mindful of where we drive and where we move because of our personal safety. And cyberspace is no different. It's also, unfortunately, like all technology, the moment the technology appears, someone will find a way to abuse it. And inevitably, that's something that we have to take into context and consider our personal security along the way. When we,
I think,
colleagues, if you could turn off your microphones, please. Thank you. When we talk about cybersecurity, at the heart of all electronic security is the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. These are the three elements on which cybersecurity is built. Confidentiality: we all need access to information, but there must be an integrity to it. The information we access must be accurate. And finally, availability: we need access to that information, but no more than we actually need in order to ensure that we meet in the middle between confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Those are the three pillars. Now, in our day-to-day lives, you can visit a little website called TOSTR, Terms of Service. Didn't read. These are the things that we agree to every day. Facebook stores your data. Whether you delete it or not, it can read and store and search your private messages. Deleted content isn't really deleted. Popular services like YouTube will retain your data whether you delete it or not. You sign away your moral rights if you use Pornhub. PayPal, you also waive your moral rights, and the service tracks you even if you opted out of tracking. These are services that we all use every day in our normal navigation of the internet. And we forget that the services that we subscribe to share data with other people. They share data with downstream providers. They share with content partners who may not be as privacy-centric as you and I. When we start to delve into that, if you go to a website called browserleaks.com, you will be able to see the exact data that your computer is leaking right now. What every single website that you visit can see about you and your profile. From the service provider you use to a rough estimation of your location, the browser you use, the browser plugins, and all manner of details around that connectivity. If you go further and you look at the icon bar on the left of the site at browserleaks.com, you'll be able to see the extent to which fingerprinting takes place in the online space. What type of device do you use? What is your screen resolution? Which patches and updates do you have in your software? What fonts do you use? In fact, our data is shared at such a voluminous rate every day that it's estimated that it will take only 4 days before Google knows you have a new account, even if you register it in a new name with a new device. And Google will be able to carry over your unique advertiser profile. Why? You need to log on to these sites on a regular basis. And even if you change your Gmail address, for example, you're still going to use the same bank. You're still going to use the same online shopping services. You are still going to move in the same places, speak to the same people, email the same people, and that creates your unique digital footprint, which of course means it's a little bit vulnerable. With the right tools, a little bit of skill, the wrong people can get access to your data. So while the internet feels safe and it feels like a great place to be, there's inherent risk that comes with it. But what do we do about that risk? And what types of risk are we actually talking about? Password protection. As you log into your cell phone with your Gmail account, it asks you to use different accounts to authenticate each other. Log into Facebook with your Gmail. Log into Gmail with your Instagram. Log into Instagram with your Twitter. Log into this site with your Gmail account. This site with your element of control of your password is dramatically reduced. You can go to websites like www.haveibeenpawned.com, and you can see if your password has been breached and if it is available out there on the internet. You can also protect yourself by using strong password managers, servers like Dashlane, for example, which is a password manager. You set one master password and it controls the other passwords for you. In an age of technology where we're quite fond and bound of our social media profiles, two-factor authentication is the bare minimum. You cannot have less than two-factor authentication. A username and password first, and a confirmation from your device or an SMS the second. Ideally, on banking and service applications, you should have three-factor authentication at the very least. Even two-factor authentication can in some cases be bypassed. I would recommend three-factor. If someone gets into your password, no matter how obscure the site it comes from, it could be a restaurant booking site, it could be a movie site. If someone gets that password, they potentially have the key to the other doors in your house. We have to protect ourselves against social engineering. Phishing, smishing, phishing are key techniques that are used these days to try to convince you to log into accounts that are not really yours. Those emails say your Gmail password's about to expire, and if you don't click here and reset it now, we're going to lock you out. Be careful. Think before you click. That might not be from Gmail. It might not be from Dropbox. That mail can come from any number of other areas and threat actors. Phishing. Phishing is one of the biggest problems in South Africa, where people are going to try and get you to enter your username and password. So one of the habits I have is I do not ever click on a link. If I get a mail from my bank, from Gmail, from Dropbox, Skype, wherever it may be, I go to the website I know and I log in, but I do not click on the link. I don't click on links. It's just habit. If somebody sends me a PDF file that I'm not expecting, I'll reply to the mail to their normal email address and confirm first if they're actually sending it and what is it before I open it. You have to be more distrusting. As much as if at 10 o'clock at night somebody knocked on your front door, you're not just going to open the door and see who's there, because it could be an unpleasant surprise. You want to open the door, but keep that chain on and be mindful of who's on the other side. Email fundamentals. If you are not paying for the service, then your data and your habits are the price that you pay. I'll say it again. If you are not paying for the service, your data and habits are the price you pay. You are giving away marketing, research information, data on your habits, your movements, and your connections by using services like Gmail. Most people don't actually realize that a conventional Gmail account is not a business grade or transaction grade account. It's meant for informal correspondence, staying in touch, registering accounts, social use. It was never promised as a commercial tool suitable for any kind of financial transaction, for any kind of registration with a banking application, and you should not be using it for commercial use. If you have a Gmail account and you are using it, you need to use it, you like using it, you have to have two-factor authentication at a minimum. If you don't, that account can be taken away from you. And what are you going to do? Who will you call? Nobody. Anybody have the number for the Gmail call center? No, of course you don't. Why? Because Gmail has billions of account holders around the world. It's impossible to have a call center to physically listen to each interaction and how people want to fix problems. Automated systems rule the roost. And the same applies to Facebook and social media straps. If you do have those, you need to ensure that two-factor authentication is enabled. It's the only way to secure them, preferably a third factor. It's inconvenient, but that is always the balance between privacy and security, and getting that balance right. Having a gate on your front door at home, it's not convenient, it's not, but it's safe. Having an alarm system that you have to program on and off at home, it's not convenient, but it's essential for your safety. 2 and 3 factor authentication are exactly the same concept. Phishing, fake emails. Every day we see victims falling prey to fake email scams. Simple things. Elon Musk wants you to invest 4,000 Rand with him and guarantees you 100,000 Rand return per month. It's not going to happen. Elon Musk doesn't need your 4,000 Rand. It's as simple as that. It's a fake email, and it can be purely to lure out your account details when you register for this wonderful offer. Your digital footprint can open the path to lures. If you have a publicly available and accessible email address on a company website, on a directory listing, you're going to get caught into the mailing list that scammers use. We don't click on attachments ever if we don't understand them. We've also got to consider the element of social engineering within this space. An email lands in your mailbox from Standard Bank saying, log in now, change your password for your security. The moment you open it, you actually get a phone call. And the guy on the other side is saying, hi, I'm Chris, I'm from Standard Bank. These calls are recorded for quality control and for your protection. Please note that we will be recording the call. I just want to confirm you got an email. There has been an attempt to access your account. We are aware of it, but we do need you to go in and change your username and password. Don't tell me what the password is, but I need you to go in and change it. That phone call is designed to get you to click on an email that you shouldn't be. It's a form of social engineering. We use trust builders to get people not to think before they're clicking on something. If you're not sure of the person on the other end, hang up, phone the call center's official number. Malware. Websites are crawling with malware. Unfortunately, that's the reality. We would like to think that every website we visit is protected and well maintained. This is not the case. You do need to be mindful of the websites that you visit. You cannot just click site to site and hope it works out. We see a lot of people that have downloaded free software, or they've downloaded a cracked version of a software onto a company computer, only to find later that that software is infected with a virus that opens the back door to the network. That people get these wonderful offers and it's attached in a Word document, but they don't realize that macros can be enabled in that Word document. They go to websites that have a very low reputation score. And while they're browsing that website, remember what I showed you in browserleaks.com, the amount of information that's there. Well, a website can actually also be scripted to take out the passwords that you save in your browser. So you don't save passwords in a Chrome or Firefox browser ever, because they're vulnerable. They can be accessed. It's a browser and you're embedding them there. This is why we use password management tools like Dashlane, OnePass, whichever one you prefer. But saving passwords in your browser is definitely not a best practice. Public Wi-Fi. We saw that again a few weeks ago. A lady that was traveling, and when she hit the airport, she downloaded what she thought was the South African Airways application to monitor her flight. What she actually downloaded was spyware from an Indian vendor. It looked like the app, it behaved like the app, but it enabled pass-through ability to her bank account and cross-authorization, and the consequence was her bank account was plundered. She downloaded that app over public Wi-Fi in the airport. It could have been a rogue access point. Somebody who has a small router device in their backpack pops up a free access point that says airport Wi-Fi 2. No username, no password required. Nothing. But they're a man in the middle. They can now communicate with your device and they're trusted because they're providing the internet access. Out of habit, personally, I don't ever use airport Wi-Fi. I don't ever use public Wi-Fi on my devices. I buy a data package. Yes, it costs money. I don't care. It's still safe. Your home and your work SSID, the name of your network, should always be hidden. If they can't see it, they're less likely to tamper with it. It's not a guarantee, but it helps. So in your office environment, for example, I hide the broadcast ID of my network. The staff know what it is. Staff know how to add themselves to that network, or the technical person that will help them. But we do not just broadcast that it's there. We segregate networks in our offices. So our SSID is hidden. We have a separate network, a separate node, a different IP range for guests that want to use it. And the passwords are reset every week. They connect with a simple QR code. It's not a very high-tech solution, and it doesn't have to be, but it respects the fact that people need to be mindful with how they connect to public Wi-Fi networks and how they run their Wi-Fi networks, because it is potentially opening themselves up to risk. Mobile devices. Everybody has this concern. We hear this on a daily basis when people are concerned, is my device secure? Should I use Telegram? Should I use Signal? If you don't understand what Telegram and Signal are and how the encryption works, take it off of your phone. It's bringing more risk in than it's bringing reward. So take it off. WhatsApp, at its most common level as used in South Africa, is perfectly safe. It's perfectly private, provided you set it up correctly and that you have got two-factor authentication. Otherwise, somebody can take that account away from you. Never let your device out of your hands in unlock mode. If I would show someone a photo, there's the photo. Am I going to give them the phone unlocked and into their hands? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because within under a minute, they could, if they had malicious intent, infect your phone with something. Don't download apps. These little bubble breaker, ball breaker apps, you don't need them. And again, if you're not paying for it, your privacy is the price that you're paying. Just stay away from them. Your phone is a working device. It's a personal sort of home phone. Don't clutter it with anything that doesn't have to be there and anything that you don't trust. The address that you register your phone to should always be unique and not something that you ever get out to anybody. Out of habit, I use a Proton Mail, also a free mail service. A Proton Mail address to register my devices. It's great encrypted software. It's great encrypted email, and I don't ever give that anybody that email address. They don't need it. It's only there to secure my device. Your device is only secure as your account. If somebody can get to your username and password combination because it's been breached in 101 silly little applications, they can get access to your iTunes backup. They could potentially get access to your Gmail backup. And then they don't need to get to your phone because the data is there. It's in front of them anyway. Why would they have to go for your phone when they can achieve the data from an online backup? So we're polite with people, but we're firm with the rules on our phone. We don't ever leave it unlocked. We don't ever let it into the hands of anybody that we don't completely and utterly trust. We secure our backups. We use a separate account to register our device as a best practice. Social media is the largest vulnerability for social engineering and data mining. You're not paying for it. You did not pay your Facebook account this month unless you got a verified profile. And even that's no guarantee. You're not paying for it. It's free. So you play by their rules. Lock your profile down. You do not need 1,000 friends. Invite people that you know to become friends. Do not add in strangers. You would not invite strangers into your house. Why do you do it on your social media? For some sort of popularity that doesn't matter to anybody? If you're not living in the online space as an influencer of sorts, leave it alone. You add people that you know and trust and nobody else. You wouldn't allow them into your social circle normally. Do not add little apps onto your social media. Those cute little burn my farm and stupid apps, don't load them onto your social media. They are going to mine your data. And before you know it, you're going to be giving out passwords and permissions. Most importantly, don't be a clown. Just lock it down. Have two-factor authentication on your social media. If you don't, you could potentially lose all those family photos that you have kept for years. So let's just revisit a couple of the basics. 30 minutes of short session. I just want to give you a couple of things to think about today. That's what we're trying to do. Password management. Use a password manager. Do not save passwords in your browser. It's not safe. Use strong passwords, 16 digits, 18 digits that can't be guessed. Change them regularly, or just use a password manager to take the heavy lifting up and do that for you. Research your own digital footprint. Look at what the world can find about you online. Go to websites like Have I Been Pawned and check, is my username and password out there? If I know that it is, I can do something about that. If I don't know it's been pawned, I could find out the hard way. I'd rather know in advance. Avoid those little freebie softwares. They're fun and they're quirky and they keep you amused for 10 minutes. But uninstallation doesn't mean that it cancels the permissions you gave it. If you just remove the software from your phone or from your PC, it does not mean that you've stopped sharing information with them because you agreed to that. Terms of service, didn't read. It's there. So just avoid them if you can. Most importantly, think before you click, before you open that website, before you engage with that new, never heard of before online shop offering you 25% discount. Stop and think. There are as many risks out there as there are benefits. Fake storefronts happen all the time. Phishing lures happen all the time. You need to stop and slow down. That's the best safety mechanism in the online space. Don't rush. Finally, as we learn more about cybersecurity, we have to teach. If we don't help our elderly parents understand the cyber risks, we might be cyber savvy and we don't fall for the scams that are doing the rounds and fall victim to them. But what if our parents do? Won't that have an impact on us too? What if our children do? If we can't protect our children in the online space, their online experience is going to be very brief and they're going to veer away from it and deprive themselves of a huge amount of opportunity. So we need to educate our children. We need to educate the elderly. We need to educate the people around us to be a little bit more cyber savvy. We can't keep that information to ourselves. Finally, as you mentioned at the start, there is a book that I wrote at the end of last year, Think Before You Click, which breaks down about 40 of the most common cyber crimes and scams that you're going to find in the online space in South Africa. Explains each one, gives you a checklist of what to avoid and how to avoid being part of them. You can buy it on Take-A-Lot if you really want a printed copy, but in the interest of educating the public at large to try and cull the victim base of scammers in our country, it is also available for free under Creative Commons license, and that will be shared with you at the end of the session. If you would like to share it to anybody else over WhatsApp, whatever you want to do, by all means, feel free to do so. The more people that become cyber savvy, the less the criminals got to tack onto. I'm a big believer in the theory that we tackle cybercrime in South Africa from the top with legislation, intelligence-led policing, and at the organized structural level of organized cybercrime, and from the bottom by reducing the victim pool. If you just show people how scams work, they'll never fall for them again. You've just got to open their eyes that first time to make them safe. And we reduce that victim pool all the time, and we eventually trap the criminals in the middle space where there's nowhere to run. Then we can make progress and we can move forward. So thank you very much for your time. I'm just onto my time limit. I know it's been a very quick 30 minutes and I'm kind of bombarding you with a couple of things to think about, but hopefully you will get one or two takeaways from today that will help you maybe just rethink that cybersecurity perspective a little bit and help you to think before you click.
Absolutely. Thank you. Much appreciated, Craig. And thank you for sharing your insights. I think it is at this opportune moment that will allow our audience to pose questions. You're welcome to pose your questions. You can raise your hand and proceed with your question. I don't see any hands on. I don't see any hands thus far. It shows that definitely, Craig, you have shared sufficiently and very, 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 very clear into we should definitely think twice before we click. And also, we are thankful for your sharing the book. And there's Sepati. See Sepati's hand is up. Sepati, you may proceed.
Good morning, and thank you very much, colleagues, for such an insightful presentation. Really, yeah, amazing stuff. So I just wanted to find out, and apologies, I joined a bit late. I just wanted to find out how effective are VPNs in terms of protecting oneself when you know interacting on the web. Thanks.
So, Paji, it's a good question. I always use a VPN. I use a product called VPN Express because it allows me to have one license on my cell phone, my tablet, my laptop, my desktop, and it covers everything. The VPN as a translator is going to stand between you and search engines websites and protect your identity by asking and requesting data on your behalf. And obviously there's benefits like regionalization where you can shift the location. It is not a guarantee of anonymity online by any means. That's not what it's there for. And the one downside to VPN is it will slow down your traffic. So if you have a great fiber connection or a really fast network, it should be fine. Some people can find it slows down the traffic. I would say that a VPN, it's kind of like a neighborhood watch. It keeps an eye on you here and there, but do not rely on it as your only security measure. You still do need password management and strong passwords and two-factor authentication. The VPN will definitely reduce a lot of clutter in your mailbox as spammers and scammers connect your mail address. So it is a tool worth having.
Thank you, Craig. I think it has managed to clarify the question, and even on the chat box, I see Catherine was also making reference to VPNs that can be recommended. Which ones can we recommend?
Okay, I'm going to pop it in there. Generally, I veer away from recommending because there's a wide variety of choice out of there. And I'm a technical person by nature. I have a technical background. So I tend to choose technical solutions. VPN Express, I choose because I'm a cheapskate. I like the fact that I can have one license, one fee for 5 devices. I mean, I don't want this to become a budgetary item. I just want it to protect me. So that works for me. But some others you could try would be NordVPN. Is also well worth using. By all means, try a few of them out, but that is what works for me.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you for that recommendation. I see there's a hand from Audrey. You may proceed.
Thank you. Thanks, Craig. Apologies, I also joined a bit late, so I'm not sure if this was covered. But my question is, what signs are there that your security has been compromised on your devices, on your particularly your mobile device? And can you reduce the risk of your security being compromised by running the device care features on your phone? Thank you.
Okay, great. really great question. Because that's what's in everybody's mind. How safe is my phone? I mean, phones become such an important part of our lives today. So I'm going to stick to the answer to the phone side. Otherwise, it's going to be a long answer, and I don't want to go over time. Your cellular phone as it is should be relatively secure as long as you abide by the basic rules. If there's a software update, you take it. You do upgrade your device every 3 or 4 years, should be fine. Don't fall behind market, because the older the device is, the easier it is to get into. There are a lot of urban legends about you can hear a hum on the line. No, you can't. That's static interference. That's any other technical explanation that I can show you what it's from. If somebody is intercepting your line, you're not going to hear it. There's no echo. There's no feedback. That's not how it works here. That would be old technology. It's not how it's done. The only really great indicator on a cellular device that's being intercepted is if you go into your settings, you go into your bandwidth usage, and you see that your upload data is way more than your download data. Because if you think about it, what data do you upload? Well, you send a text string to Google or search engine saying, find this, do that. How much data do you download? Well, I bring down files, I bring down videos, I bring down pictures to look at, social media content. So your upward bandwidth should always be about 10% of your total. When somebody's intercepted the device, they can't listen live. They have to have that data sent off to another server, which inverts it immediately, and your uploads are larger than your downloads. So that's one giveaway. The heat of a battery, not anymore. It used to be an indicator because the phone's running all the time. But I mean, a phone sends nearly 2,000 requests a minute to the server as it is, based on the balance of applications you have. If you leave your phone in the sun, the battery will get hot. So it's not really an indicator. I'd stick to the bandwidth up and down as being a good indicator. And if in doubt, have the phone checked out. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. It costs you about $3.5 grand, $4 grand to have a quick malware inspection done on a phone. If you are in an at-risk profession, it might be worth doing once a year. Your biggest protection, don't let that thing out of your hands ever, or unlocked. Keep your software up to date, and don't load anything on it that you don't absolutely need, and use a separate email address to register the device, not your normal day-to-day usage email address.
Oh, thank you, Craig. I think that definitely covers that question. And thank you again for sharing your insights. Definitely, that was an engaging delivery, and we appreciate also sharing your book that we'll definitely peruse and utilize it as a defense for while surfing on the net. No, thank you, and much appreciated.
Thank you, Chiki.
I'll introduce Ulrich Jansen van Rensbeck. He's a chief fraud and analyst officer at Absa. Ulrich has been driving the risk management strategy within Absa for the past decade. And prior to Absa, he's consulted in the financial sector on different financial risk topics. He has a passion for strong risk management and embraces industry collaboration to combat financial crimes. Ulrich, on that note, I'll hand over to you. You are welcome to share your slides. There are your slides. We can see them, and you may proceed. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ntiki. Great presentation of Craig. Tough act to follow. I just want to check, Ntiki, can you just confirm there's a presentation mode?
Absolutely, it is in presentation mode. I saw a thumbs up as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. So I think let me provide some context and then we'll dive into some of the technical pieces. So what we've seen in the industry and globally, not just in South Africa or in Absa, but globally, that online sales has increased significantly over the last 3-4 years post-COVID. COVID has obviously accelerated the need for consumers to transact more frequently on an e-commerce platform or on a virtual platform. And as you can see, e-commerce in 24 amounted to $4.1 trillion US. Now, it is estimated that it's going to spike in the next 4 years or 3.5 years to double that to about $8.1 trillion. I mean, that's a significant amount of transactions as well. Now, typically, you'd find that these are some of the top e-commerce platforms out there, and you'd find that in order to commit fraud, you need to just hide in the mess. What I mean by that is to detect the fraudulent activity in such a big pool of transactions, and to prevent that at the end of the day is a tough ask, because what syndicates would do is, first of all, they need to blend in, so they need to participate on platforms that looks like these platforms, present services or products, and within that, they have an opportunity to steal quite a lot of funds from consumers. So to hide in a let's call it a revenue pool of $4.1 trillion US is not complicated and difficult. The problem is they come with additional change, and that was driven by the vast amount of technology advancements that relates to large language models, AI, and machine learning. 5 years ago, AI, machine learning was a topic that most financial institutions started paying attention to. 10 years ago, some of the first financial institutions started investing in them. But what we've seen is that over the last 3 years, the exponential transition in how AI, machine learning, and large language models are used to drive more revenue streams, to drive more personalized engagements, to drive more targeted sales and marketing, has resulted also in a lot of that becoming available to criminals. You'd find that there's an ethics committee that's been established to try and guide a couple of principles around how AI should be managed. And the likes of ChatGPT has obviously caused a lot of panic and excitement when it was released. Recently, DeepSeek was also released, and obviously some controversy in what it does and how it operates. But there's a lot of excitement around what these capabilities and technologies have to offer. But within that, there's a lot of threat that comes with it as well. When we look at traditional platforms like the ones I had on screen, so the Amazons locally in South Africa, the Takealots, you'd find that these are traditional platforms where consumers would purchase goods and sometimes services. But over the last couple of years, social media platforms have become a very common platform for commerce turnover. And these are some of the platforms that we've seen also lately picking up where fraud occurs. If you look at the actual traffic that goes through social media commerce, we've seen in 24 $1.2 trillion estimated traveling through these platforms. So the likes of a Snapchat and a Pinterest and TikTok, Facebook, etc. And some of these have obviously contributed to tax and revenue threats for certain countries, but others have also presented a couple of threats that sits behind it. Now, on your e-commerce platforms, it's fairly common to find your e-commerce platforms being copied, and we call it screen scraping, and they use AI for it. In a social media landscape, they don't need to do that. They can create as syndicates, create those marketplaces and just advertise false goods and services. And there are some challenges. The typical recommendations in the past would have been, well, consider some of the reviews, reflect on the goods and the services, how long have they been around, etc. But I'll talk to some of the challenges that has since started to remove some of those scrutiny and due diligence that one recommends as we go through the rest. So I'm flipping through them, and I'll take some questions afterwards. So according to Finance Online, payment fraud has cost merchants $40 billion will cost merchants $40 billion by 2027. On an over a 90-day period, 1,600 fake Amazon websites have been identified. So you have the legitimate Amazon website, and you have 1,600 fake Amazon websites. That means consumers fall prey and buy what they believe are goods or services. Now, so often these websites surface in your email box as a great deal, or surface as in some instances as the top of your search bar, Google engagement or Safari engagement, and most of these institutions pay a lot of money to make sure that the legitimate site surface at the top of your search results. But in some instances, some of these websites or these criminals do manage to jump that queue. But if they can't find you in a search engine, in other words, if they can't target you on a search engine, they'll find you on a social media platform. They'll find you on Facebook. They'll find you on TikTok or Meta, any Meta platforms at the end of the day, and they will start sharing some of the capability or some of the specials that they have on their side. Particular Eastern websites, Taobao, had 5,000 fake domestic domain sites. So that means they have a unique site and 5,000 fake sites. So to fall prey to that type of fraud is really very easy. So all they need to do is try and get hold of you, and on the back of that, they'd be in a position to defraud you. The Global Anti-Scam Alliance revealed that scammers stole just over $1 trillion in 2024. Now, if you reflect on that, I mean, that is worth a couple of countries' GDPs. So this is a significant business and a significant industry. And you can imagine if they find that kind of resources in their gains, they're going to invest in technologies. They're going to invest in technologies that's going to accelerate their business. And make no mistake that in all of these syndicated activities, these environments run as formal businesses with formal agendas, formal employment, where they expense their resources or their illicit gains to invest and accelerate. And they do invest in things like artificial intelligence. if we talk about artificial intelligence, and I spoke about some of the concerns that we have around online channels and the likes of reviews, we've seen that AI is used to write good reviews on investment platforms, for instance, where where what normally one would say, well, before you invest, do your homework, make sure that you're investing in a reputable company, and they use AI to generate hundreds, or if not thousands, of positive, high-performing investment product reviews. So that reduces your ability to understand the value that you may extract should you invest in it. So they find ways using AI to disguise the true version of themselves. AI has been seen as a dynamic URL generator. So it would, and I'll use an example. They'll look at things like PayPal, and they'll create a URL that looks exactly like PayPal, but instead of ending that URL with an L as the PAAL, they replace that with a 1 that looks like an L, but it's not an L. And they would create different versions of that URL and share that with consumers. So they may share a PayPal campaign with consumers, noting that you may have purchased goods or services, or there's a refund due, and they need you to deposit or participate in the reversal. And in real instances like that, they will use that as a front for you to authorize particular activities. We've also seen machine learning being used where databases are harvested, especially where databases were leaked and where social media platforms operate. And what they then use that for is they consume data of those particular platforms, and they throw it in hyper-personalization models. That allows them to then engage with you as an impersonated friendly party, or they understand exactly what are the times that you prefer to transact, what are the times that you prefer to engage, what are the times that you're on social media. So it is an environment, to Craig's point, that especially in a social platform, that you need to tread lightly on how you participate, who you befriend, how you engage, how you set up your privacy settings at the end of the day. Because a lot of your information, if your privacy settings are not clearly set, there's a lot of information that is openly shared with some of with those who's interested, and those personalized activities will find, for instance, an email address, and sooner or later you'll get a phishing email that looks legitimate, may look credible, and may require your participation. We always say in fraud, social engineering has got 3 stages. The first stage kicks off with a data leak or a data breach, or in this case, a social media data harvest. On the back of that, it will initiate a typical social engineering activity, like an email or a phone call, and in the world we operate in these days, machine learning can even be used as a voice module, and in that it would be someone who converse with you in a very credible manner to highlight the need for support, and on the back of that, fraud will occur. And usually those engagements happen in 3 stages as well. The first one starts with they quote a couple of things about you that makes you believe that they're credible sources. They then create some authority in that process by telling you They're phoning you from a bank or from an authoritative institution, and then they create a panic that you've had fraud or this is the problem, and they need you to participate, and they'll then reel you in to participate. We've also seen some deep fake activity. To buy a deepfake kit these days is fairly easy, and you can create a lot of different attacks with a deepfake tool. Well, I mean, we've used a couple of deepfake tools, had 15-second voice recording of an individual, and trained five different models, and scripted what we wanted to train it on, and used that in open forums. Fortunately, obviously, we've made the party aware of the fact that we're going to demonstrate, and you couldn't tell the difference. And these deep fakes are being used in investment scams. They're being used in CEO attacks. So where your email may be compromised in your company, a phishing attack may result in malware being deployed on your device. On the back of that, your network, your mailbox network is infiltrated, and within that, they'll then start the attack, and that may be one that comes from your CEO inbox with a very personalized message that they've trained their model on, to their CFO to instruct on for instance, a large payment transfer. So, I mean, I don't want to delve into too much detail, but these are some of the things that we see in the financial world. One of the other things, I mean, I'll talk to that. Car data is available on the dark web, and it's sold US cents per card number. Often those data points are also the card data is also utilized and then sold to a third party and a fourth party, etc. And in a lot of instances, they use a machine learning to run thousands of card numbers and CVV numbers, etc. And we call it bin attacks for authorization. And hypothetically, they'll run 10,000 card numbers, and they'll get a response on typically 1,000 of them that confirms that those 1,000 cards are active. On the back of that, they'll start very specific fraud attacks on those active cards. The one thing that was that great, I'll come back to that just now. So what do we do as banks, and what should we do as an industry? In the banks, I mean, there's a lot of investment that goes into protecting consumers from social engineering, from scams. We also invest in a lot of AI and machine learning. We invest in a fair amount of tools that relates to biometric services, etc. And we build real-time monitoring capabilities that helps us understand networks and relationships, etc. It's not a bulletproof world, and syndicates will always find a new modus operandi or new technology or a new way of exploring. If we don't use the same type of technology, so AI, machine learning, large language models, deep learning, and the likes, we'd not be able to combat the threats that's presented, and in such instance, also not being able to protect our customers. The only challenge that financial industries have is if the activity is not happening on platforms that we have access to. In other words, we can monitor, so your online banking or your car details, etc. We don't have the means to protect you. I'll use an example. You'd see in the US, sextortion is a very concerning threat in the US, and I've seen lately some of that awareness being created in South Africa as well, where children and teenagers in particular are found on social media platforms, where deep fake technologies are used to engage in a friendly manner, mostly targeting teenage boys, and is presenting themselves as teenage girls, and before you know it, that the youth find themselves in a dark pit where they are being extorted to make payments, but also being threatened that all the information or the images that they've shared will be socialized with their friends and family because of their presence on social media. It is very easy to figure out who your contacts are, who they engage, what they are to you, and so forth. So it is a very scary world that we live in. And if you pay attention to some good hygiene, you'd be able to limit those threats. On the right-hand top side, you'll see yima.org. It's an industry initiative where a fair amount of awareness is created around scam-related activities, what types of scams there are out there. Please visit the website, have a look at the different scams, have a look at the tips that's being shared on the different scams. The industry contributes to that on a frequent basis. They also have what we refer to as a vulnerability scanner. So you can use that, you can download it. We've pen tested the solution, so we're comfortable that it's not penetratable by a third party. You can use that capability, download it as a service on your desktop, and on the back of that, it will provide some support in scanning URLs if they've been reported as fraudulent. Like I mentioned, the 1,600 Amazon fake websites, if they've been reported as fraudulent, this URL would, or vulnerability scanner would tell you so, and it would at least give you some protection to not be scammed. Then as an industry, we're obviously creating a lot of awareness around how social engineering happens, how scams happen, what types of scams you have. And you can see, I mean, this is an industry conversation where that's hosted by SABRIC, where they create platforms like these to try and create more awareness. And then lastly, I think in 25, what you're going to see is an accelerated amount of activity, especially in the financial institutions, to start sharing more industry data, especially where we identify syndicate operated practices, where we believe there are risks for not just the customers or the consumers, but for the institutions itself. You'd find that the likes of cryptocurrencies remain a big threat for the financial industry because it's not regulated. And as a result, it becomes a vehicle for illicit funds. We're also finding that there are quite a few online wallets available for different products that's being utilized for what we refer to as mule accounts. So funds are being channeled to those particular wallets, and as soon as it lands in those wallets, it's distributed. And we use things like cluster or network analysis to try and source these, to try and identify those unique patterns. And that as an industry, there's a need for the industry to collaborate and mitigate some of those risks. Let me pause. I think that's what I have. Chiki, then happy to take some questions.
Thank you, Ulrich, and much appreciated for this imparting the knowledge that you shared and the insights that you shared. Much appreciated. I would invite our audience to pose questions or probably comments if there are any. I see on the chat box also Daya shared the yima.com, the tool that we can take up to protect ourselves as a first line of defense, of course. Thank you. Ulrich, that shows that definitely you shared a comprehensive and exciting presentation, and we are grateful for providing that context, the case study. It definitely assisted us in understanding and putting, context, the better picture to what you've shared. Thank you, much appreciated. And I'm aware that you are also engaged with another event. So we wish you all the best. You may be excused if you have to leave for that event that you're already engaged on. Thank you and much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. And if there are any follow-up questions, Nziki, don't hesitate to pass them on and I'll respond to them formally.
Absolutely. We'll encourage our audience just to also collaborate with you and engage further on the subject.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Pleasure said to you. We'll encourage our audience just to also collaborate with you and engage further on the subject.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Pleasure said to you. On that note, without much further ado, colleagues, I think in the interest of time, we'll just push on to my colleague. Our next speaker will be addressing the digital online scams. Daya Moodley has been with SABRIC since 2006, and he's been focused on the threat management at SABRIC. He is a member of ACFE, a certified Association for Certified Fraud Examiners, and he is a certified fraud examiner. He is a lead for technical collaboration that is responsible for all proactive and reactive requests to address crime within the country in collaboration with SABRIC member and also law enforcement. Absolutely encouraged in collaborating with stakeholders to identify those threats and address the high-risk areas. Over to you, Daya.
Good morning, colleagues. Once again, thank you, Nziki, for inviting me to sensitize the members on what we've seen on a daily basis on digital online scams. So we know that there are over hundreds of different scams out there. But I think our focus will be most on the most prevalent ones that we are seeing on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure that most of the attendees have come across these or even investigated such scams. So one has to look at online scams. It is indeed become increasingly sophisticated, leveraging advanced technologies in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and social engineering, as our two previous speakers have mentioned. But I want to look at how do we actually define it on what is actually online scams. So there are a few definitions. I thought maybe let's look at the standard one. An online scam is a deception carried out over the internet with the aim of tricking individuals into giving away personal, financial, or other sensitive information or directly stealing their money. You can have a look at the other definitions. I put the source at the bottom. I'll also make it available maybe on the chat where you can click on the link and get a better definition of how these criminals are actually operating. So as I mentioned, there are different scams. We thought that maybe we'll take the 5 most prominent ones where the industry is basically seen. So these online scams have basically where the banking victims are basically prone to. One looks at online shopping scams. In an online shopping scam, fraudsters pretend to be legitimate online retailers using either a fake website or a fake ad on a real site. They'll often advertise luxury products at enticing low prices, which is an initial tip-off that they're dealing with a scam. Another clue that you're dealing with a scam is if they ask for payment through non-traditional channels. The second one is on Ponzi schemes. This is whereby group administrators gather eager first-time investors and ask them to contribute different sums of money in the hope of gaining a return far superior to any offered by the commercial banks or investment houses. If you look at the other one, which is basically overnight online brokers, this is to deal with forex trading and exchange traded funds being touted at unprecedented levels over the internet. More and more brokers have sprung to life overnight. Majority of the time, due to stringent tax and financial laws in South Africa, these brokers do not register their companies in SA, leaving you open to financial loss should they jump ship. The fourth one is deflective deposit, buying online. With more and more online marketplaces opening up, fraudulent transactions arrive. One common way sellers are scammed online is when a buyer asks to meet and pick up the product. The buyer then agrees the price and makes a deposit into the seller's account. The money does not reflect in the seller's account, but they do receive a pop-up notification from someone claiming to be the buyer. After the transaction is completed, the seller is left with nothing because the payment made by the buyer turns out to be false and the money does not come through. I think this was touched also by the two previous speakers on social media. We've seen an increase whereby the bank clients are victims of such scams. This is identified as a threat, and with collaboration with law enforcement, banking industry, we're happy to say that law enforcement is looking at this from the DPCI head office, where they have actually opened up an inquiry. So if you look at what actually happens in this space here, more often you'd think that buying and selling online has become a way of life. And while this seems to be a convenience, it also opened up new world of scams. Most times sellers advertise their products across various social medias, platforms, open up pages, and even gain a fan base of their items, along with fake reviews. As soon as an interested party engages, the conversation is taken privately, most likely to WhatsApp or onto the Facebook Messenger, where banking details, courier details, and more will be discussed. Many times victims will be enticed into scoring on a buy one, get one free deal. As soon as the victim has paid in the money and provides proof of payment, the social media pages, the phone numbers are no more active. What we've seen also is that these scammers prefer to use the avenues of third-party retailers such as ShopRite and PEP, which makes it a little bit difficult from an investigation perspective to track and trace that specific transaction. Some of the modus operandi that are associated with these type of scams, phishing, I think this has already been touched on, fraudulent communication pretending to be from a reputable source, steal personal data, social engineering tactics, manipulating victims for financial gain, the too good to be true scenarios, the urgency, the trust, the fear, making victims more likely to divulge sensitive information. And the last one is phishing, where phone calls or voice messages are designed to trick victims into providing sensitive information. Some of the malicious apps that infect millions of people, a lot of people are downloading these types of apps. This list of malware-infested apps include the video downloader master. I think it had about over 5 million downloads. The other one is Ringtone Make Pro, Save Insta, Tank Classic, and there are many, many others. I think from a research perspective, researchers have basically discovered that this malicious campaign that delivered different payloads such as Agent Tesla, spyware, and Eva Maria remote access tools, where it was used to steal username and passwords and steal keystrokes from various Windows applications. We can make this link available also. I'll put it onto the chat. You can read more about this, maybe familiarize yourself with the different types of apps so that some kind of awareness can be created. Some of the tips that we give out to the public out there when we go on campaigns, I think this is self-explanatory in Siki, so I'm not going to go through every one of them. But I think when we talk about password protection, I think that's one of the key issues. I see the two previous speakers also spoke about password protection and how do you actually derive a password by using this password manager. But one thing I can basically give as a tip is think of a song that you familiarize yourself with, or your favorite song, and then by using the first letter and unique characters of that song, you can derive a password that is at least 15 to 18 characters long. So it's one of the tips that we actually give the public out also. It's something that you know, they would not forget because they will remember that song. Remember that you've got the power. Trust your gut. If you see that or sense that something is off, it probably is. And the idea of giving more time is that practically we can make it more interactive. We'd also like to hear from the audience of what they have seen, what they're experiencing, and maybe share the knowledge of how we can actually tackle this type of crime. Thank you, Nsike.
Thank you. Much appreciated. I think you hit this the time exactly on the dot. I'll invite questions from our audience. Are there any questions?
Good morning. This is Frank from Nedbank. Thank you, Nsiki. More
Yes,
of a question stroke comment so that I can get feedback, you know, from Daya, but also make our fellow guests here learn. I was victim about 8 months ago of a very interesting fraud that I've shared with so many people. I lost about 5,000 Rand in the fraud. This is what happened. I work at Nedbank, but I also teach at the University of Pretoria. There's a colleague of mine there, Dr. Tangazele, and she had told me that she was going to be in Australia. She was going to be there for a month, and so I knew kind of where she was going to be. And then what happened was I got a call. No, sorry, I'm lying. I didn't get a call. I got a WhatsApp message. And the WhatsApp message says, "Hi, Dr. Makwegwe. It's your buddy here, you know, Dr. Tangazele. You won't believe what has just happened to me. I'm sitting at this restaurant. I swiped my card and it bounced. Can you please just quickly put 2,000 Rand in my card? Please help me." This on WhatsApp. I know she's in Australia. I don't want my friend to go through this pain of a bounce thing. And what happened to me, I saw this number. This number is SA, but I didn't think much about it. You know, I was rushing from one class to the other. I quickly transferred this 2,000, but it sort of didn't sound right that this is an SA number, but she's in Australia. Anyway, I sent this 2,000 Rand, and off I go. I forget about it. The following day, the message comes, and a new message. "Hi, thanks for that 2,000. Yo, things are not really going well with my cards and my swiping devices here. I am now at a mall. I bought this beautiful painting. I got it at a discount. Please, can you send me 2,000 or 3,000 Rand, another amount, so that I can, you know, come with the painting. Then I'll come to South Africa, and when I sell it, then I'll share." Now, that message, I looked at it more carefully. How did we go from lunch to the painting? I started looking at the language, but she doesn't text like this, right? And so I decided to call her. So I called her and said, "Hey, you seem to be having a hard time with your accounts. How are you? Are you okay?" And she said, "What do you mean?" Then I told her this 3,000 or 2,000, 3,000 that I had put in, and this request for, you know, additional money. And then she says, "No, I never sent you a message. It's not me. I don't know who you gave that money." And so I lost money like that. It turns out, and that's Adaya, you can comment on that. It seems to me there are people, these scammers, who spend time on our platforms. They are looking at her telling the world she's gonna to be in Australia for a month, and they captured this beautiful picture of a person I know who's there, and they scammed me like that. I fell for it.
Frank.
I fell for it.
Yeah, believe me, you're not the only one that's been scammed that way. There's many people that have been scammed in the same way. The thing is that it's about harvesting information and how they actually harvesting this information, like cell phone numbers, and then befriending you, social engineering, using that tactic to actually, the problem lies also is that how do they know that this person here is your friend? It's all about social engineering.
Yeah. And is in Australia, and she was in Australia.
Oh, thank you so much for that insight. Yeah, but as I say, we also seen that a lot of those reports coming through to us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Dr. Magwegwe. I think thank you for sharing your story. And we are sorry that you had to experience that. So on that note, I don't see any other hands. I think we can, in conclusion, just thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing the insights and the knowledge and the case studies that have probably help our audience in order to understand this types of scams and also the methods of operating all of these guys. And we definitely hope that we'll be cautious and act with caution next time. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Ziki.
And to the audience as well, thank you for your time, and thank you for availing yourselves to also listen to the insight and attending these knowledge sharing sessions. As I alluded earlier on, there will be more similar sessions of this nature. We encourage you to attend more. Hence, I've shared the link to a survey. Please complete that survey. Take your time to complete that survey. It will be closed later on today on the chats. And also advise us where this webinar has been impactful, whether it has been impactful or where areas that we can improve upon. And thank you for availing yourself. Much appreciated. And to the other SABRIC team that are assisted in arranging this event, Billy, Newton, Prisha, much appreciated. Thank you. And we may close the session. Thank you.
Sorry, Nsiki, I see there's one hand up there, Sandra.
Sandra?
Hi, my apologies. I wrote something in the chat and I just wanted to know if the last presenter could answer that, or perhaps maybe was I too late? I was still typing while you were closing. Sorry, I'm Sandra from SARS. Sandra Boyce from SARS.
Nsiki, yeah, I can answer that there. Maybe it would help with Greg's regarding the MNOs holding them responsible for these WhatsApp scams and so forth. So we are in communication with the MNOs via the Combric avenue. So this has been addressed with them. So we are in consultation with them. The issue is that with holding them responsible for that, for those pre-record cell numbers, is a long way for us to actually try and touch. But this has been brought to their notices as to how these cards are basically being pre-recorded, because it makes it difficult from an investigation perspective to actually try and track and trace who that SIM actually belongs to.
I hear what you're saying. Can I? This is the last bit. Sorry, my apologies. Yes. I hear what you're saying. Holding them responsible will be a bit difficult, but as Vodacom, okay, I'm giving an example like Vodacom. They know which numbers are not recorded. Why can't they just switch off those numbers? Because the ones that are not recorded are the ones that are used for this criminal activity. That's what I've picked up.
No, absolutely. What we do is when we do get these, these cell phone numbers that are basically used for fraudulent purposes, it is channeled to the respective MNOs. So the thing is that what they do with that is another talk. But these numbers are basically being, gathered from the industry itself, from the public itself, and it has been channeled to the respective MNOs.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you. That was a very brilliant question, Sandra. I think we will encourage all members of the audience to also visit our website, www.sabric.co.za, for more information on this method of operating and other tips on identified scams and schemes. And also we are available on social media platforms, TikTok, Insta, and also X. Please visit us there. You'll be able to gain more insights on other types of crime. On that note, we may close. Thank you.